monthly live stream. My name is Bobby Umar. I'm a 5-time TEDx speaker and Inc. Magazine top 100 leadership speaker. And I'm also the founder of the Thought Leadership Brand Club, which is basically a membership community designed to help business professionals and business leaders ramp up their thought leadership brand, and which will help them get more business clients, digital awareness, TED Talks, book deals, media appearances. And really, if you're trying to elevate your brand in your life, that's what the membership community is for. And with that, we host a bunch of weekly audio rooms across LinkedIn Audio and Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse. And we also run this monthly live stream. Now, if you're coming in today, I hope you will join the conversation and chat with us and share some knowledge and things like that. Let us know what you're up to and where you're calling in from. Are you calling from North America, South America, Europe, Antarctica, Australia, Africa? Actually, and just a couple of housekeeping things. So the topic today is how to incorporate gratitude into your branding. And I'm going to explain kind of why I came up with that title. So for thought leadership branding, I have a model. And basically the model is if you want to ramp up your thought leadership brand, there's a few key elements. The foundation is mindset and confidence, which then leads into your digital content, your digital presence strategy, which also leads into your storytelling, speaking, and communication skills. This all leads into building meaningful relationships, which also leads to a strong personal brand. That strong personal brand will actually feed back into the mindset, which then again feeds into the other things that I talked about. And that's how you level up with coaching, with knowledge and strategy and things like that. But that's the general gist. And so for the past year, we've been doing a monthly live stream and I've covered every topic. We did one on mindset. We did one on storytelling and TEDx Talks. We did one on content strategy. We did one on personal branding. And I wanted to talk about gratitude because I think it's a special one that's not identified by the model per se, but it's something that I've become quite familiar with and I've incorporated, and it's a big part of what I do when I'm working with my communities, when I'm delivering my content, when I'm putting my brand out there, whenever I'm dealing with situations that have conflict. I find it's a really powerful thing to have. And I looked at other people that I thought could be here to share with us. Now, and Mark Black is my longtime speaker friend, and I let him introduce himself, and then we can start talking. But one of the things about him is that I've known him for a long time. He talks about resiliency, and I think that he shares really great stories about gratitude. Our other guest speaker, unfortunately, had a personal issue come up today, was not able to make it. So sending you good thoughts, Emily, hope you're okay. But instead, I've invited a couple other friends to join us, and Krista is now here, and I've also invited another friend, Roy. Hopefully, he'll be along shortly. And now this is global. We're in Canada, Krista's in France, and Roy is in Australia, so that'll be fun. So with that, we hope you guys will enjoy the chat. Put your questions, put your discussions, put your comments. I'll try to feature them, in the discussion as we're doing it, right? And this is kind of cool. So make sure you're doing all the stuff to try to get in the chat. So with that, let's get into let's do some introductions. So Mark, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Great, thanks, Bobby. So I am a speaker as well. I've been speaking now for 20 years, primarily to professional associations, although do lots of corporate work as well. Started in schools actually, and then transitioned to mostly associations and corporate work in the last 10 years or so. Written 2 books, resiliency expert, and so my work is primarily around how do we leverage challenge and change into growth and opportunity, and whether it's blogs or videos or speaking or coaching, that's primarily what my work is all about. And that comes from a long backstory that maybe we get into later. I don't know, but yeah. And I'm excited to think you and I, like you said, we've known each other a long time. I think we may have connected at a TEDx talk, but I can't remember if that was the first connection or a second one. But anyway, we've known each other a long time. Happy to be here and lend whatever value I can.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And let's go to Krista. Krista, can you please do an introduction for everybody?
Yes. Thank you, Bobby, for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here today. So what's up, everyone over on LinkedIn and on YouTube? I connected that account as well. So I am an ex-agency owner. I sold my agency in 2017, and I went solo. So I became an entrepreneur full on, and that was a big transition to go from having being the boss and having a bunch of people around me, a bunch of team members, to talking to myself and my cat all day long. So so I think some of your people in the Thought Leadership Branding Club can relate to that feeling. And so what I've done is I have transitioned into working as a fractional CMO, where I work for a certain number of select brands to really handle all their setting up their marketing tools, teams, and systems. So I'll build a team for them. I'll set up their budgets. I'll make sure everything's running. Love that. And besides that, I run something called From Zero to Six Academy, which is an online educational platform for new entrepreneurs. So basically, where I was, where all of you, Bobby and Mark, all of us have been at one point, and there's where I teach people business and marketing systems. So that's what I do. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So let me start with Mark, because so I approached you with, hey, Mark, I want to do a live stream on gratitude, incorporate gratitude and branding. That's something that is not really much talked about. People talk about gratitude, and people talk about branding, but people don't talk about both. So I wanted to get your thoughts on what the heck is Bobby talking about, and what your first reaction was, and why you think it's an important topic.
So I'm not sure if I know exactly what you're talking about, but I know I know what I think you're talking about, and you can tell me if I'm right. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I mean, I think gratitude in general is obviously a really helpful, personal life strategy, if you like. But then when you incorporate it into your business, I think there are a number of benefits that come from that. And if you can incorporate it into your brand in some, whether it's overtly or it's so integrated that it's just kind of authentically part of the brand, I think it resonates with people in a different way. And so there are a number of things that I do with my brand and with my company where we try and overtly as well as covertly express and infuse gratitude into what we do, and it's been nothing but beneficial for me, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, and I think that one of the ideas I had in mind was when it comes from a business perspective and a brand perspective, when I work with clients or I'm talking to my community, every chance I get, I'm trying to offer gratitude for the things that I've been able to do in my path on my journey. So that includes my followers, that includes people like you two that are coming on this call, and to me, it's just something that sets you apart, and that's one of the reasons why I thought it'd be kind of important to get into that. Krista, what about you? What do you think about it when we say incorporate gratitude and branding?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts about this, because I would say that when you invited me to come to this talk, it really appealed to me, because gratitude is part of my core marketing philosophy that I teach to my clients. So if you hired me as your fractional CMO to help you build your company, I would tell you that there's 4 pillars who you need to cater to. You know how we always talk about the clients and getting more clients and all of that, right? All the focus is on that, but it's not true, because we have to be grateful for our audience, and our audience is comprised of non-buyers, right? So we could call them audience, or we could call them followers. We could call them, I don't like the word followers, by the way. I'd rather call them audience, or we could call them support team. My support, my cheer squad. So I have plenty of that. How about you two? Do you have a cheer squad here on LinkedIn? Right? People who just show up, who like your content, and they're maybe not quite in a position to need your services or be in that, but you love having that, don't you? So be someone's cheer squad. And so I'm very grateful to have my audience and my supporters and my cheer squad. And what I talked about yesterday with Chris Colt's live was trying to dedicate 30 minutes of uninterrupted time to just go and support other people. So not to check my notifications and respond to my comments on my post and check my stats and refresh my screen. I'm just going directly to be like, who are the people who are on my love list this month? So talking about gratitude, do you have a love list? Every month I try to create a love list. And these are people who I'm like, maybe I haven't really supported them in a while, because time flies, doesn't it? And you're like, oh my gosh, it's been like 2-3 years. I haven't really been with that person. And so I would encourage everyone listening to create a love list. Andrew says he's part of my cheer squad. Yay. Show people some love and just do it unselfishly. Like, go in there 30 minutes, book your time, and just call it the love hour. I mean, love on as many people who deserve it. And I particularly want anybody listening, who gets all the love on social media? The big influencers. Boo. Okay. I want you to, I'm going to challenge people listening. Okay. Remember this. Krista told you to create a love list of people who have somehow supported you in the past or whose content you appreciate. Not only that, I want you to particularly isolate the underdogs. So look for people who have 3 likes on their post. So because everyone on social media is so freaking superficial, they go for the big accounts and then you see 1,000 likes. I want the love list is all about showing gratitude. I don't want to be a fangirl of somebody who already gets enough love, right? I want to go to that person who's getting depressed because they put in all this effort to do great content and they get freaking 3 likes, So do that for me just once a week. Can we agree? Is it too much to ask? Right? That's what I think. And I tell everyone to do this because you never know how much that means to that person.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It reminds me of one of the reasons why I came up with this topic was that since the pandemic, I can tell you that I've reframed how I look at my relationships. So when you think about that love list that you talked about, yeah, I mean, there are people that I want to invest and spend time with. And one of the things I learned too, like I was the type of guy before the pandemic, when I have, I have a holiday open house every year, right? And people come by and I would invite like 500 people and I have like, 50, 60 random people from my life show up. And
can I come?
You're welcome to come, but it was very random who would show up sometimes, right? And then same for my birthday party. But then I was like, you know what? Who do I really want to spend time with? So then I trimmed the list to like, I invited 10 people to my birthday dinner. I invited about 30 people to my holiday party. And now, like when I go traveling, what I used to do was that, hey, I'm going to be in Vancouver. So who wants to get together for a big lunch? And then I'll try to invite like 20 people to this lunch. And I stopped doing that. What I do now is like when I go into a town, I pick the 1 or 2 people that I really, really want to see. Like who do I really want to see? And make every effort to see them. So if I'm going to Moncton, yes, list. Mark.
What's that? I'm getting paranoid. I want to know if I'm on the list.
I don't even know we live in France. So sorry, something out there. Sorry. Yeah, that's hard to do, but.
Well, your wedding anniversary, hint, for your wedding anniversary, you need to take.
Yeah. So when I go to Moncton, New Brunswick, I'm going to call Mark. He's the guy. And so now what happens is I don't want to spend time. The other thing happened too is I went to New York City and I met a whole bunch of LinkedIn people. I was like, I only want to talk to the people that I really want to meet up with, and I took the time to just focus on those people, and that was it. I mean, other people were there, and that's fine and dandy, but like, who are the 2 or 3 I really want to talk to? So that's kind of how I've shifted my way of the people I'm grateful for. Because the other thing too is that there's people I really want to see. There's also people who give back in the relationship. There's people who are responsive. It's actually kind of interesting because a lot of people just don't respond. And so I'm so grateful for the really good friends in my life that I've known for a long time. And that's kind of where, like, you two come in because Krista, like, you've also, when I needed you in a spur of a moment, like today, you stepped up and helped. And that, to me, I'm very grateful for. And that's where I think gratitude comes into the conversation. I'll go ahead, Mark. You want to say something?
No. I agree with you, and I love Chris's idea. I think you're right about sometimes the simplest way to express gratitude is something super easy and simple yet powerful, like clicking the heart or the like on somebody's post, writing a 3-word comment on somebody's post, reaching out to somebody by text out of the blue and saying, hey, thinking of you today and thinking of how you did XYZ for me. And obviously, yeah, the people, our followers, our community, whatever we want to call that group of people, absolutely, you want to recognize those people, whether you have, in Thank You Economy, Gary Vee talks about this all the time, right? He's like, people aspire for 5 million followers, but when they have 100, they don't treat those people like they're there, right? It's like,
Right.
How do you expect you're ever going to get to that if you're not going to be investing in the people that do follow you, and you're always chasing more and chasing the new ones? But it's also, I think, appreciating the colleagues. It's appreciating the clients. It's appreciating. I've got 2 or 3 speaker referral friends. In fact, I just got a text from a friend today who got a gift card to her favorite restaurant from me because she referred me for this awesome gig. And we have this relationship where we refer each other, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And she's like, you're not supposed to do this. I was like, it's a tiny little gift, like in comparison to the benefit that you gave me. But it just lets her know that I noticed, right? And that I appreciate that. And do you think she's more likely to send a referral next time? Sure. Is that why I sent the gift? No. But that's the idea, right? Is these little investments in other people. We want people to spread our message and help us amplify what we do. Then we have to be willing to do the same in return, or not even in return, but do the same and model the behavior we want to see.
I kind of want to get back to you, Mark, because one of the reasons why I thought of you right away was because you do talk about resiliency, and I also know because you post a lot about gratitude. I was wondering if you could share for us, it could be long or briefly, obviously your story that I think a lot of people don't know about, but I want to champion support you because your story is very motivating to me. I think it relates to both resiliency and gratitude, and I thought maybe you could share that with us.
Sure. So I'll give you I call it it's getting to be an outdated reference. I call it the Reader's Digest version, which I think like all of us are old enough to understand what I mean, but there's probably
you don't say the TikTok reel.
Yeah, it's the shortened version, which is in 2001, I was given a year to live. In 2002, I received a life-saving heart and double lung transplant from an anonymous donor who I still do not know. And then in 2005, I ran my first of 4 marathons. And so that is the foundation of what became a speaking career. But yeah, I'm fundamentally, I think, we all have our reasons for being grateful. But fundamentally, I know that I only exist because the life of somebody else was given to me. And so at a very profound level, I literally breathe every day because of a gift. And a gift that like I could spend 10 lifetimes to try and repay, would never be able to repay it. So yeah, there's just I come from this deep sense of just being grateful to breathe every day. I certainly don't live it flawlessly. You can ask my wife and kids about that. But I do my best to live from a sense of gratitude and therefore to express that in as many ways as I can. And it reframes, I think, the many little things for which I think we can all be grateful that perhaps we forget about or take for granted because we're human and it's life and it gets busy and it's easy to do.
What a story, Mark. Thank you for sharing that with us.
I
mean, every day is a gift. You're the living proof of that. And that's such a powerful story. And I really want to say that I've never heard your public talks. I will have to look you up and we'll have to connect. But I do want to say that just by sharing that, what you said, that you turned that tragedy and that miracle into a speaking career is so impressive. Well,
yeah, thank you. I probably like many other, like several speakers out there, I won't say many. I completely stumbled into it. It was not like, I'm going to go be a speaker now. It totally happened by accident. But it has become a means. It's my vehicle. Everybody has their own for how to take what could have been a very negative thing and turn it into something constructive that hopefully helps other people. And that's, again, I think we do that. We all do that in our own ways. But again, coming back to this whole idea of gratitude, I think it's so trite to say, in today's day and age, in modern times, and all of that, that sort of whole mentality, I don't necessarily buy into. However, I do think in an age where we communicate almost exclusively electronically, where we tend to be very short and concise, and maybe to a fault with our communication, taking the time, giving somebody your time to pick up the phone and call them, to write a handwritten thank you note to somebody, has tremendous impact, because it just doesn't happen very often. I write handwritten thank you notes to all my clients, and I'm certainly not the only one that does it, but I'm surprised at how few do it, because for the 10 minutes it takes to write the note, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, the impact seems to be pretty significant, because how many handwritten pieces of mail do you get in the run of a year? Like, not very many. Right? So those little things, and again, it's not that it's a marketing tactic, but there are certainly benefits that come to your brand from doing those little touches. And we've probably all interacted also with brands that make that. Like, I'm a Marriott Bonvoy loyal customer, for example. And now when I go into my hotel room, it varies by hotel. Sometimes it's like nice chocolate dipped strawberries and a little bottle of champagne. Sometimes it's, a bag of chips. But there's a little note that's like, we appreciate you being a loyal customer. And it's the fact that they made the effort to do it, not what they do, that matters. And I think that's something that people can apply to their brand, no matter what you do, because it's not the amount that you spend or the extravagance so much as it is the fact, it's the thought that counts, as kind of cliche as that sounds.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little story too, which is again, and your story is really powerful, and the resiliency, I think, feeds into the gratitude. And I think whenever we go through some very difficult times, hopefully that usually can propel us to be more aware of what we're grateful for. Whether, for example, this summer, like my mom got really sick, or like she's 70 years old, we were worried. So, but now she's fine. But we were worried about that. So, but it definitely started fostering a lot of gratitude in my head. But one of the big ones was when the pandemic hit. The speaker industry collapsed, and I didn't speak for a year, and it was a really difficult, challenging time, like really hard for a couple of years. And I'm happy to say I feel like we're back, which is great. But during that time, all my clients disappeared. Now, there was a couple who deferred, rescheduled, and then eventually the following year, the reschedule that happened from May to the following year, they rescheduled again, because it's like, what, this is really bad. And everyone else was gone. And I finally went to them 2 years later. So I was supposed to speak in May 2020. I went in May 2022, and I spoke. And this was going to be actually my first public speaking gig outside the city. I went out west. And one of the things that happens at every speaking gig, you always get gifts, right? You get like art, a mug, a T-shirt, fancy pencil, whatever they want to give you. But I decided to turn the tables on them. I gave them a gift. I just said, I said, guys, I spent like a big gift. I said, I'm so grateful for you guys. You stuck with me through a really difficult time. I always had that one speech that was always there waiting for me to come. And they were like, what? And they couldn't believe it. And then the CEO came and said, wow, that was a huge surprise. That was really, really impressive. And one of the things that I want to say about gratitude and your branding is that branding, from my personal branding definitions, are different than everybody else. So the general thing I like to say is that it's about being memorable. And if you incorporate gratitude into your branding, you become memorable at every interaction, wherever it may be. That's kind of my take. What about you, Krista? Have you found any sort of situations where resilience or hardship led to gratitude as well?
Plenty. But nothing, sure right? Nothing compared to Mark. I've been blessed with good health most of my life, but I've been through a lot of personal tragedies with my childhood, and then that was a big problem in my childhood, being raised by my grandparents, not having much contact with my mom, just some being in foster care. Like I had some hard times. And then I suffered a very painful sexual aggression when I was 16. That left me deeply depressed, like suicidal depressed. And then when I was 36, I got a divorce. So 3 times in my life, I kind of have said I felt like I hit rock bottom. And I posted about this on Sunday. I found a handwritten piece of paper that just said, you are not a victim. You are not a victim. And it was written like 50 times. And I kind of coached myself back out of those dark times. And I would say that I'm grateful. I learned to love myself, but I thought loving yourself was something about being narcissists. But now I understand clearly it's nothing to do with that. In fact, narcissists don't really love themselves. It's a deficiency, just like a bully. They're trying to compensate for the lack of what they, this hole inside them. So I feel very grateful for being able to find that self-love and actually forgive myself and say, it wasn't your fault. All these things that happened, it wasn't your fault. Because for a long time I had that blame, and that depression came from blaming myself. And I've always been really too hard on myself. So I don't know about you guys, but that's a big problem for me, being like perfectionist and then beating myself up for falling short. But I want to say that this topic of gratitude and branding, I want to say that one of the things that I've learned being in marketing for many, many years is that people pay attention to those little details. Like you brought a gift for the teams, that was unusual. It made you memorable. And we have to get creative to always think, what can I do that would be a little bit extra just to make people feel special? And maybe that means just like before you go to a trade show or a conference or go speak at an event, that you take a box of chocolates, and then you can offer people chocolates like Forrest Gump, and it's like, well, who can refuse a chocolate? Come on, take a chocolate. And that's a conversation. Like, come over by the chocolate box and we'll have a conversation. I mean, you never know what can matter to a person, but they'll remember you. They'll be like, that was the lady that handed out chocolates, or like, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And in fact, I like that. I like the idea of the little things. And I think maybe from a brand perspective, it's the little things that actually have a greater impact, because if you do it over and over again consistently, then what happens is it becomes part of your brand promise. So, if Mark is a guy that's giving cards to people every time he does a speech, then people remember that. And I think that makes a big difference. And people who give cards, and I know Blake we had on the call last month. Yeah. He's a huge thank you card guy as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's something that the little things really matter long term. All right. Well, listen, if you're listening to the conversation, we'd love to have you be part of this conversation. By all means, put your names or share something in the chat box. There's lots of great people who are sharing some comments. We want to hear from people, and make sure you comment or engage, or if you have a question for us about how we're leveraging gratitude and how we in our branding. I think that's something I'd love to get into. And so put your questions in there. You can also share this after this is over. You'll be able to share this on your pages with your network, and let them know all the great things that Mark and Krista have been sharing with us today. What I want to talk about now is, we talk about gratitude, but also I'm curious now from a gratitude perspective, what are your thoughts on gratitude? Like, how do you know? Sometimes I feel like there's some people who overdo it. Is that possible? Like, I don't know. I'm just curious about that.
Overdo it in what's? Can you explain that for me?
So there's a friend. Okay, so there's someone I know. Okay, and every time I see them, they always talk about gratitude for me and our friendship, and I appreciate it the first, second, and third time, I would say. But I think after the sixth time, I'm starting to like, is this just like, is it a robotic attempt? Is it just it started to lose meaning with me a little bit, and I found it really odd. I'm like, wow, you always talk about gratitude. That's interesting. I don't get it. Like, okay, I'm happy to see you too, but like, it was just a lot. It became a lot, and pretty soon I was like, I'm not sure I want to bring anything else up anymore, because then they're just going to talk about gratitude with us. So I found it really. I've never experienced that before. It was the first time for me. I was curious if anybody ever heard of like I've heard of toxic positivity, but that's a little different, where you're so positive you can't acknowledge the pain or the hurt or the negative emotions. But I'm just curious about gratitude. Is there such a thing as too much gratitude, or what do you guys think?
I'll take
one. I know it's a tough question.
There's so much hate in this world, Bobby, that I would rather have an overdose of love any day than to have, I would rather be like, being like, wow, this person overdid the compliments versus the opposite. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say there's no such thing. But I would like to say that there's words of affirmation is one of the love languages, the 5 love languages. And the person who's probably telling you this is their way of expressing love. And I've been accused of not giving enough words of affirmation because I'm like, you already know, like, I don't like to say I love you so much. It's kind of hard for me. And that's weird. I know women are supposed to do the opposite, right? You didn't say you loved me, but I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't need to hear it. I want to see it, right? So I don't like words of affirmation, like as a love language. So it's important to kind of remember that, because when I meet people, I can tell that a compliment, I can see how it lights them up. And immediately I know that's the person who, that's their love language, because you can just tell right away. They're like, tell me it again, right. Say it louder. Like, so you never know. But I think we need more love in this world. Okay. Right now there's bad things happening, I mean, we need more love. So let's just try to be kind. And one last thing I wanted to say about gratitude, because I want to make sure people hear this. I try my best once a month to rack my brain. Who can I leave a podcast review for? Who can I leave a book review for? Who can I leave a testimonial, like a review on LinkedIn, for example, right? And I do this unsolicited. That's very important to me. It's not like you asked me, can you leave me a book review? Can you do this for me? I want to do it because I care, and it's even better. It's even a sweeter gift when they weren't expecting it. And then they see that, like, or I'll do like back-to-back, like 3 or 4 Zoom testimonials. Like, I'll just start recording and I'll chop them up and say, this is for you. And I'll send everything on Dropbox. It doesn't take me more than like 30 minutes to do all that. But guess what? It makes such a big difference for those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Wow.
That's a great idea. Yeah, and to your question, Bobby, I would tend to agree. I think with Krista in the sense that, look, I'd rather you overdo it than not do it at all. I think the only maybe caveat to that is as long as it's authentic, right? So there are people that express gratitude, but you can tell by the way they're doing it that there's an ulterior motive, right? That there's a manipulation to it. I'm doing this because I'm hoping that you're going to do something back for me, as opposed to just I'm really genuinely grateful for you. And sure, I might know that might come back to me, but there's a difference between that's the intention versus I just believe in putting good things out into the world and somehow it's probably going to come back to me, but I'm not doing a tit for tat kind of trade. So I think when it's expressed that way, and I think we can get that vibe, right? We know. It often comes in the form of cold DMs on social media. I think your content is so wonderful. I'm so grateful for all of the great stuff you put out there. Let me now pitch you something. But as long as it's authentic, I'd rather you overdo it than not do it at all. And I'm happy to be guilty of overdoing it.
Yeah, you just triggered a memory that someone actually during the pandemic did that to me, where they did me a favor and then got mad that I didn't post about it on social. I'm like, what, you want me to post about you doing a favor? Like, that's the weirdest thing I've heard of. And after that happened, I was like, man, okay, that's one of those people I don't want to hang out with anymore. But it's kind of a weird thing. We actually have a question. Hey, question. Why? From a Sebastian Okay. No, I'm kidding. I know Sebastian. He's a great guy. I'm just teasing. Doesn't sharing all your gratitudes online also mean you have to share all your vulnerabilities to the public? Oh, what do you think about that?
Okay, so I'm gonna take a take on this that may or may not be what Sebastian meant. And if it's the way if you meant it the way I take it, then I agree with you. Which is if we're going to post about our gratitudes, and by gratitudes, it's like the positive things that are going on in our life. Because oftentimes people also will do this trick where they're like, I'm so grateful for all of these great things that I've accomplished in my business or that I've accomplished in my life, which is really just like, I want to brag, but I'm going to call it grateful for, and then it doesn't sound like bragging. And which, like, I'm not judging you. You want to celebrate your success, absolutely. But like, let's just call it what it is. But if we're going to do that, then should we also say, post about the day when business sucks and when I didn't get the client, and like, should we be real? Yeah, 100%. I'm a huge believer in that, and I'm a huge. I fight constantly the trend that I see and try and call it out, and I also try and call myself out of people posting their highlight reels, both because I think it's damaging for the people who follow us, and it's super damaging for Bobby, I know you and I are both parents of teenagers. I'm super aware now of my 15-year-old daughter and what she watches on social media, and what my 12-year-old son is watching on YouTube and social media, and they are seeing, and we talk about it, so I think they're pretty aware, but they are watching other people's highlight reels and comparing their real life to somebody else's 2% and going, well, how come I don't measure up? And so I think it is important when you have any kind of platform, whether it's 100 followers or 10,000 followers or 1 million followers, and you're posting about some of the accomplishments you've had, that you also share the struggles and the journey and the hard work and all of the other things, and not just hey, look at me, aren't I great, and here's my private jet, and here's my Lamborghini, and whatever else.
Mic drop. Mic
Yeah,
drop. I think that was beautifully said. And I think, Sebastian, thank you so much for that very thought-provoking question. And thank you, Andrew, for saying that a leader should be vulnerable. And I think it has to go back to mastering your ego. So I am an ambitious, driven person, and I think you need that quality to become a leader, whether it's in a corporate world, an artistic world, or an entrepreneur world. But I've come to clearly recognize that I also need to be humbled regularly. I need to hear you failed, and I need to know that I'm not number one. So being real is more essential, because we're talking about branding here, and how are people going to trust you, whether you're a personal brand or you're supposedly a leader in the company representing your brand, when it looks fake? I mean, we all saw the video of the crying CEO last year that went viral, and whether or not he intended, it just didn't feel real. It didn't feel authentic. So yeah, we have to be vulnerable. And I love what you said about the highlight reel. In fact, I'm trying to redo my podcast now to focus more on solopreneur stories and talk about the hard parts of being an entrepreneur more. And in the past, I've been criticized. Some people say, I don't like your content because you seem to be really judgy and negative. And I said, because life is full of those things. Like, if I just would post positive quotes every day with a nice emoji, that would maybe cheer you up. But would it really give you anything you need? Like, I want you to see that, no, I struggled through these things. Personally, I share stuff, and in my business that I've gone through. So 100%, we should be vulnerable.
And I think what we'll add to that is, do you have to show your vulnerabilities in the public? No. But that's what branding in business is. I mean, I'm strategically deciding what I want to do and what I don't want to do, and that's fine. I don't feel compelled to. I mean, if I all of a sudden do a post where I thank my mom about how awesome my mom is, do I have to post about my dad? I don't have to. I mean, you know, like, even if I want to, I don't have to. But this idea that, and that's one of the challenges for digital, which a lot of people get screwed up with for branding. They think that if they share gratitude about one thing, they share gratitude about everything. If they share about a cause, if they share about all the causes, if they share about, you know, if I talk about my binge eating or my weight loss and diabetes stuff, then I got to keep doing it. No, I don't have to. Sometimes I don't feel like it. To me, it's authentic when you feel like doing it and you think it's going to help somebody, as opposed to doing it for the sake of doing it. And that's where I do see some people do that, where it gets to be, you know, over the top and inauthentic. And it's like, you know, no, like what's your intent? Your intent for likes, or is your intent to actually help people? And so for me, vulnerability is great. It's a great asset to be able to share that stuff, to show that we're flawed. And in fact, I learned about vulnerability in public years ago with Mark. And I'm not sure you remember this, Mark, but when we did that Departure Gate thing, that was like, what was it, I don't know, 12 years ago, 10 maybe
Probably
10,
longer.
11,
Probably
10,
longer
11
than
years.
that. We're getting old, but
No.
yeah.
No, because we did this thing, and we had this talk with all these students, right? And someone asked a question, and I decided to go. I decided that, you know what? I have dark days too. I have days where I get up and I eat like crap, and then and next thing I'm watching Oprah at 4 o'clock. I'm like, what the hell did I do with my day? What is wrong with me? And I'm a speaker, and this happens. And they're like, wow. And the next thing you know, Mark and everybody else started sharing all their dark days too, because it happens to all of us. And so to me, branding is having, if you're strong with your branding, you're thoughtfully and consciously being aware of what you're doing and for what intent and for the people you serve. And, you know, you don't feel like it's not necessarily a burden. It's more of a strategic thing that I'll do. And some people take it as, I guess, a burdening responsibility where they go overboard. They feel like they have to do it all the time, and that you don't have to. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and it's also, I think, it's a trust builder, right? Because it's about authenticity is a bit of a buzzword, but it is. It's about the more that I feel that what I'm seeing from your brand is real, then that builds a level of trust with the brand, and therefore I'm more likely to do business with your brand because I believe what you tell me, right? Good or bad. So if you're willing to show us, it's like one of my pet peeves with big brands, I could drop a few that I've interacted with lately. One in particular, a travel one whose name will remain nameless, but we all know who it is. The large airline in Canada is just like we all know what's happening. You know what's happening, but you don't just step up and say this is what's going on, right? Like just tell us the truth, and whether it's your fault or it's not your fault, be real. And we might still be angry, but at least we can respect the fact that you're being transparent, as opposed to you know, we want to try and skirt it when we're not doing things right, but we want to scream from the rooftops when we're doing things poorly.
Wow, no, that's awesome, and I think that's fine. And I think that, you know, the negative, the brands who do a poor job of this, and you know, I think that there's nothing wrong. Again, there's nothing wrong calling it out too. It's totally fine with that.
I kind of want to jump in from a PR perspective, because even though I'm not an expert in PR, it falls under my responsibility in the marketing realm. So I have to work with PR agents. And I've been at marketing for over 20 years. So we have had a couple of F-ups in my brands I've worked with. Data breaches, CEO scandals, racism. Like we've had PR dramas in the companies that I've represented in marketing. And we usually have an emergency meeting. And what I've come to understand the best approach is rip off the Band-Aid quickly and admit that we did something wrong. Don't try to dick around with people and then try to come out with a press statement a week later and say, oh, after all, now we kind of want to admit that we weren't completely in the right. It's like, come out and say, we immediately want to apologize to all the people who've been affected by this, both internally and our dear customers and the general public. We let you down. And don't be hard on yourself. Like, the harder you are on yourself, the less hard the less harsh the repercussion will be. And you say, you know, we realize we failed to contact you immediately about this issue. We weren't ready for this. We didn't do these things right. And that's okay now, because we're telling you, you know, it doesn't make it right, but we'll do what it takes. And here's what we're going to do. For anyone who experienced this issue, we've set up a hotline. You can call that number and we're going to make it right. We're going to do our best to make things right, because ultimately branding has to always be people over profits. Because long-term, your profits you can replenish. You can never get back customers who hate your guts. And if you go to Reddit, that's the proof, because they will sooner or later create a sub-thread and they will be hating on you for the rest of your brand.
Yes.
And
a happy customer will talk about you to 5 people, and an unhappy customer will talk about you to 500 people.
Oh yeah, dirt always attracts more interest. It's more fun to listen to the rants. So, being genuine and apologizing when you mess up is so important. And especially as a leader, we need to take responsibility, like full ownership for what we did in any situation, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think of the United Breaks guitars, experience where they did not replace the guitar, and if they just said,
"We gave my buddy Dave a whole career, though, Bobby." So
I mean, now he's grateful for United for not fixing his guitar, but and to have the brand say, "We are grateful for your feedback, even though it's a criticism." I mean, I know Gary Vaynerchuk talks about being grateful for haters, because the haters give you feedback and interest and insights that can help you out. So I'm grateful for that too. We actually have a question, guys, and I know we're coming to the end of this thing. But again, we appreciate everybody's coming into this top conversation today. So do you guys feel like, particularly on this platform, that there's a generational gap between the younger and older folks with regards to the basics of what we're talking about? I'm old school, so offline is a big part of my business setup. I'm not, and I actually can't see the rest of this talk here, I'm not seeing gratitude as much as I'm used to in the online arena. Thanks. What do you think about that?
I mean, is there a gap between generations and what they talk about? Absolutely. But about all kinds of things. In terms of gratitude specifically, I don't know.
I personally haven't seen. I mean, I would say I haven't really seen that. I mean, I know that younger people they have their own things. Like you could see they're on TikTok and these other things that we didn't do, and that's fine. I mean, when I was young, my dad would say, get off the television and go help your mom and be grateful that she's here for you, right? And the difference is now is you get off the TikTok and stop FaceTiming your friends, and I mean, I think it's a different medium. I haven't actually seen younger people might be expressing gratitude in different ways than, say, older people. I think so. For example, an older person on LinkedIn might share a long gratitude post. Like me, I'm Gen X. I shared a long post about my daughter's birthday yesterday. She turned 13. Great. Okay, that's but that's something, that's a Gen X thing. We write long posts, right? Now, what would someone who's younger on LinkedIn probably do? Probably not the same. They may not say they might say Mother's Day, hey, shout out to my mom, props, happy Mother's Day. And does that mean they understand it less? I don't know. I don't think so. It's just different.
I think we live in a consumer society, and I think that in the older days there was more person-to-person interaction, that were longer interactions. We spent time with our friends, like we actually rode bikes and met up and like talked to each other. And today younger people are like texting each other. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, we're actually in the middle of a video game, but we're in 3 different locations playing on our computers, and that may mean just less expressiveness, like what you said, Bobby. So it doesn't mean that there's less gratitude. It just isn't as expressive because we have less face time with each other now.
Yeah, I mean, my younger son, he's 15, and he sends me emails that are very curt and to the point about what he wants. Like, no such line. Send me the link to that thing you talked about yesterday, because he's in school. Or he now has a dumb phone, so he texts me now, and I'll say, hey, how's it going? Hope you have a good day, and whatever. And he'll write back, K, just the letter K. It's like, okay. And he does. I think he means with love, so it's fine. It's different.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to push back here a little bit with and say that I think we need to be careful about making that a generational thing versus a personality type communication style thing. Because I would argue that I've communicated with many people my age who I'll write a paragraph and they respond with one word because I like to write and they don't like to write, right? Or, you know, yeah, I'm the type of person who will write a 3-paragraph text and I have people who I send those texts to who pick up the phone and be like, "What? This is way faster." Right. So, yeah, I think people have different preferences for how they communicate. That may have some generational trends to them. But as you know, as somebody that still works with high school students regularly, I'm always cognizant of the tendency of the kind of adult, 30 to 50 generation going kids these days, which is the pattern that has been repeating itself since the dawn of time and will never stop. But just because they're different from us doesn't mean we're better. It just means we're different.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And, we're getting to the end of this. And again, if you have other questions, by all means, feel free to do this. One of the things I want to mention again, this is brought to you by the Thought Leadership Brand Club. We do a monthly live stream every month, usually the third Wednesday of the month. Next month, we're going to talk about how community is important for building your thought leadership brand in 2024. And also, we run weekly Zoom rooms with guest speakers. And Chris has been to them. I may have to drag Mark to one as well in the future.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
I'm going to have to. Yeah. And every Thursday, so this Thursday, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have Sarah Clay talk about company page on LinkedIn. And then on Friday morning at 10 a.m., we have Darren Gibb talking about using AI to generate really cool content for yourself. So I think those are going to be really good. And they're free to the public. I'll actually give Sebastian the link so that maybe he can post it in the chat, because I can't seem to do that right now. And make sure you click on the link to join that. You're more than welcome to do that. In terms of, before we get to some closing thoughts, maybe because I'm grateful for you guys, Mark, why don't you tell us a bit about what you're working on, and I want you to promote your work and how people can reach you.
Thanks, Bobby. No, what am I working on? Well, we're very excited to be kind of halfway through the first year of the launch of the book behind me, The Resilience Roadmap. So you can go and grab one of those if you'd like on wherever books are sold. And just booking the speaking calendar for 2024. I just finished the busiest month of my career, and 2023 will be the busiest year of my career. So which I am very grateful for. But now I'm also home for a while, which I think my wife is very grateful for. She's certainly grateful for the help and the extra driver to drive kids to things. So. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
That's great, Mark. What about you, Krista?
I have so much to be grateful for right now. 2023 has had ups and downs for me, I'll admit, but every challenging moment had a gift inside. And so I'm just as grateful for those challenging moments that I am for the wins, because the challenging moments opened my eyes, and then I wouldn't have done things that I did as a result. And those things led me to even more greatness that I would not have ever known about. And so I have a habit that I write a very long reflection letter at the end of every year. And last year I published it on LinkedIn as an article. And I write a letter of like everything that I felt happened this year, good and bad. And then I write a Dear Me letter that I open 1 year later. So I'm about to open my next letter,
That's cool.
It's coming to the close. And I wanted to share that because in that letter, it's a way of gratitude. It's like grateful to be alive. If you're reading this, it means you're alive. It means that, I'm hoping, I love you. I'm hoping that you've done these things and that you're feeling happy. And thank you for all that you've done, and all the people around you that you're showing gratitude to them too. So I'm thinking 2024 is going to be an exciting year. I have a lot of great things going on. So if people are listening to this, please don't hesitate to connect with me. I'm always open to connect with everyone. I'm not a snob, and I can be quite funny sometimes. So.
Yeah, no, that's great, guys. I do appreciate you guys being here. And again, I'm grateful this year because I'm grateful for so many things. And that's the other thing. Sometimes there's so many things to be grateful for. It's like, well, do I take? I love your exercise of doing different things on different weeks and months and things like that. I mean, I'm just grateful that I'm back to where I was before the pandemic. I think that I finally I passed the plateau of where I was, and because last year was like 80%, and now I'm finally back. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful that the Outreach Brand Club community, which has like 46 members, and if you want to be part of the membership community, you're more than welcome to reach us and come to the Zoom calls. They're free. You can learn more what we're all about. And I'll be working on a big TEDx event with Chris Colt in the new year. I'm kind of excited about that. But cool. I'm hoping to come out east and see you again there, Mark. And then if I can get to Europe, that would be lovely. I haven't been there in a long time since before the pandemic, so that'd be kind of fun to do. So
well, just come to see me and then just keep going east. It's only another 5-hour flight or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. That's true. I'll make a stopover. Absolutely.
There you go.
All right. So and as some final thoughts here. I mean, maybe so we'll end up with some final thoughts for you guys. Mark, start with you. Just final thoughts from our conversation today.
No, I mean, I think the conversation was indicative of exactly what it was talking about, which is, I mean, I'm grateful just to be part of the conversation, grateful for the interaction with both of you and the comments and the questions that I'm seeing in the chat. I think, again, it comes down to a lot of what we talked about already is whatever is authentic to you. Incorporating that into your brand is going to be natural and easier to do versus being like this strategy of how do I make my brand about gratitude. And it's also going to resonate with people in a real way, as opposed to I'm going to, my 2024 New Year's resolution is to incorporate gratitude in my brand. No, like just think about the things you're actually grateful for and think about ways to express those in small and big ways. And make that a part of your brand and be consistent about it, and it's going to pay dividends personally and professionally.
Krista?
Short and sweet. Everything you do, both in your professional and personal life, do it fully, unapologetically, and from the heart. And if you do that, you don't have to worry about, am I being authentic? Am I expressing gratitude? Because your heart is pure love.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I think my general take is, again, gratitude is a gift. And it's the best way to provide value to somebody, even if you're not sure how to provide value. So do it live, do it often, make it a part of your daily, weekly, or annual habits. I think that's going to go a long way to being memorable and to being someone that people think of fondly. So with that, guys, make sure you follow Mark and Krista across all their channels. Just look them up, and I'm sure you'll find some really cool stories about what they're doing. Follow the Outreach Brand Club as well. Feel free to follow me if you'd like. And if you want to learn more about what we're doing, what they're doing, reach out anytime. The replay is obviously going to be available on it's streaming everywhere: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So this is everywhere. So thanks so much for being here, guys. I do appreciate you. I really appreciate both you guys and your friendship. It means a lot to me. And again, thanks everybody for being here today. If you have any follow-up questions, just put them in the chat links and the comments, and just tag us, and we can maybe try to get to them. All right. Have a wonderful week. Take care, everybody. So long.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.